Hello and welcome to another edition of the One Team We Agree On. I'm Jillian.
I'm Kyle. How are you doing today?
Doing okay, given that it's my last day of summer, basically.
Yeah.
When you all are listening to this, I'm already back in school.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. Well, I mean, it's been a fun summer
It has.
and
It's
we've gotten a lot done, a lot accomplished here. And we thank everybody for
mhm.
listening with us over the summer. We've covered a lot.
Yeah, it's been
What?
incredible, and the
Yeah,
opportunities like going to training and going to the pressers in person, stuff that I can't do during the school year. It's been a great opportunity to do that.
it really has. And just because, swim season's back up and school's back up, programs are back up running for me. And, we're still going to be covering this team. We're not going anywhere. So,
Right.
we're gonna just, continue to cover as much as we can, but we appreciate everybody listening. And we have a very good show today. We got a lot of fond memories to catch up on, some viewer responses as well. But yeah, we're going to cover the Union moving on in Leagues Cup back to semifinals for second year in a row.
Yep.
And then just a couple other little odds and ends. Obviously, we're going to discuss, Jose Martinez and was likely his last Union appearance.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get started, what are we wearing today?
Well, in tribute to El Brujo, I have on one of his warm-up tops that I got from the locker room sale. So we got number 8. Yeah, gray warm-up top.
Very nice top there.
Hmm.
So, and I'm wearing the Squirrel Squad because I felt like
Classic.
busting out the Squirrel Squad, getting back ready. Um, so yeah, it'll be fun getting ready for Wednesday night. But where can people find us at?
So we are on Twitter at TOTWAG. We are on Instagram and Facebook at The One Team We Agree On. You can find us on our YouTube channel, The One Team We Agree On. We have our website, theoneteamweagreeon.com. I just published an article on the recap of the game against Mazatlan, and it's very much about Jose Martinez and memories of him with the team and what he meant to the team and some commentary and all of that. So definitely check that out. You can also find me on TikTok at Jillian_Almany.
Yes, definitely check it out. It's an excellent article. You did a wonderful job on it.
Thank you.
And not just saying that because I'm your husband. I'm saying that because it's a really good article. So seriously, go check it out. Again, it's on our website right now. So let's get in and talk about Saturday before we go any further into reminiscing about Jose Martinez.
Yeah.
We will get to that, folks. But another special moment, your brother and fiance were able to attend our game. Now, if you guys remember, they were originally going to come to the Real Salt Lake game. In fact, they were there at the tailgate. We
Yeah.
were all hanging out, having a good time. Their dog gets out. They had to go home and take care of that. So they were not there. And then, of course, that's when the losing streaks began.
Yep.
We
Yeah.
thought to right the wrong here, right the ship, and they were able to make this game. And so I want you to kind of just share a little bit about experience hanging out with your brother and his fiance.
Yeah, so my brother Patrick and his fiance Lynette, they came and finally got into the game. But yes, we all hung out at Union Yards,
Hmm.
and I know they got some food from there. I haven't ever gotten any food besides tacos from and like elotes from the taco stand there, but they got the burger, and they got the street corn from the stand where the burgers are. And my brother said that the burger was phenomenal. That was, I believe, his exact words. It was phenomenal. And he's, good judge of food for sure.
Yep.
So yeah, they loved it. They loved that experience. I mean, there was no Real Sons of Ben tailgate, just, some people hanging out, very, very unofficial thing going on.
Hmm.
So we hung out there, and there was no chalk talk, sadly. So we ended up going in and going around the stadium. I showed them around a little bit. They were impressed with the amount of Chickies and Pete's that were in there. Yeah. We went in the team store. We had a few new items actually, which I put in pictures then. There was a little bit of new merch. So went around, and then we went up to our seats, and so we were in 136, and it was definitely not as crowded. It was definitely more people than there were for the game against Montreal. So it was a little bit more. And I think part of it was, of course, people had heard that there was going to be a send off for Jose Martinez, that he would be the drum striker that had
Mhm.
been put out there. But and it being the quarterfinal, so it was a little better attended, but still pretty sparse. Would you say maybe the stadium was maybe maybe one third full, if that?
Yeah, I would say if that.
Yeah. So anyway, they had a blast. I know that, and um, really got into it. I know Lynette was catching on to the chants because we had chants going, and I know KSU was over there doing their thing too. So people were kind of joining in with that, and so but yeah, she was catching. She was totally bought in, and Patrick was, into it too. But I'm so excited that they got to experience a very exciting match. I mean, man, they got to see it all there. That's
Yeah.
for sure. And and of course, we got to see a happy result too. We were stressing so bad during those PKs and everything. So, but yeah, it was great. I know, Lynette had been to a Union game years ago, probably like 10 years ago or so. So it'd been a while. And, yeah, they definitely want to be back. So,
And that's how you do it.
yeah.
Build the fandom by bringing people to games, and I think that's, especially during this time, one way to do it is even during Leagues Cup, getting people out there and experiencing the Union, so we'll definitely have them back.
Yeah, and I definitely have some pictures too. I did post some on social media, so once we look at some pictures, I can show you some shots that we had from the game.
Did you upload them?
Yeah, they're uploaded. So
Okay.
yeah, we can go through some of those
Yeah,
now.
let's
We can look at the
look.
merch too from
All right, this is the
from there.
upload. Let's see if it uploads
If
here.
it yes, we'll see if it's all there.
All right. We do not have.
Oh, okay.
Did they not upload?
Maybe they did not. Well, okay. So
Anyway.
maybe not. Okay. Well, I put them on Twitter. You can go look at my personal Instagram or my personal Twitter. Well, yeah, they're on Twitter at silly_Jilly. So you can go check them out.
All right.
So as for the merch ones, we can talk about that another time. There was a few new shirts in there, and one of them, one of them was like it was like I think that was the cream colored top. It had Union, it had like a city, like the skyline on it.
Mhm.
It was of course like $50, but yeah. And there was a few others as well. But other than that, not tons of new stuff.
No,
So
well,
I didn't buy anything.
we'll definitely catch up on the next episode, share some of that.
Yeah. We'll be there on Sunday,
Yeah, we will
whichever
be.
game it ends up being.
So, let's talk about the game itself. Just a couple notes. Obviously, Jim did mention in Friday's presser that the transfer to Corinthians for Jose Martinez was picking up. And then later he did say that, he won't be starting. The other thing was he did mention Frankie,
Yes.
who did make his now officially fourth bench appearance for the Union. And then one other note, Olivier Bizo was out due to a high leg injury, I believe Jim said. So he was not there. He did say Danley Jean-Jacques would be available if needed.
Yeah.
However, he didn't get in yet. And again, fitness, getting back into it, learning his teammates, all that. But we did get to hear a couple thoughts from Jim about, the move. But at the end of the day, when the match lineup was announced, to everybody's shock, Jose Martinez was on the bench.
Yeah. I don't think anyone expected to see him even on the bench, but there he was. And of course, at that point, too, you think, well, he's not going to get in now.
So the funny thing was, Jim said after his post-game press conference that, in fact, hey, he,
Jose wanted to
yeah, he
go in.
literally called Corinthians. It
Yeah.
was like, hey, can I play? And basically, from what we understand, from what Jim shared, is they were like, yeah, you can make a cameo. Well, he ended up making more than a cameo, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But so I mean, we could kind of talk about it. I mean, again, the news was that Jose was going to bang the drums. So
Yep.
here is the video from that. So we'll play that here real quick.
Yeah, and I like that we had the TIFO as well.
That
Um,
was nice.
yeah. Let's say try reloading that too and see if other pictures come up.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the TIFO, if you're listening, the TIFO is one that was from last year after he had scored the goal. And yeah, I guess my stuff's just not showing up there. But yeah, it was that TIFO. And what's that in the reference to? Because you know more about that than I do.
Uh,
Like what character?
oh, it's the wizard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Brosnan is like the wizard. It's from like a Marvel comic. I forget what I thought it was Iron Man, but it's not. It's from
Mm.
another. Forget which one. But if somebody remembers from in the chat, please comment below.
Yeah, it was a fantastic TIFO, and I was really glad that
Yeah.
he could be honored that way. And my only regret is that it wasn't a full stadium to see him off.
Yeah,
I'm
that I mean, you think about it. I mean, Jose deserved a packed stadium to say goodbye.
He did, and for what it's worth, the people that were there were extremely loud for what it was.
Oh, it
And
was.
yeah, and of course, I mean, I hadn't heard it that loud with such a, with not it being full when it was, the goal when Mikel Lewis scored and when it was the PKs and Andre saved and all that stuff. Like did get really loud.
Yeah.
And I think it was pretty good buy-in from like everybody, not just in the river end.
The one big thing I noticed was towards the last 10 minutes, it got really, really loud. Even when it was
Yeah.
tied and everybody's like, I'm probably heading to PKs.
Yeah.
The fans that were there, and I thought this was real impressive, got really loud. Obviously, when Jose was subbed in,
Oh yeah.
the place erupted, even though, like you said, it was a cameo, but we're like, oh, he's gonna do PKs as well?
Yeah, and we were keeping an eye on him because where we were in the river and we're like watching him warm up, and we're watching their players there, and then all of a sudden we're like, he's going in,
Yep.
and around the 90th minute, yeah, he went in and played about 4 minutes when it all was said and
Yep.
done, and then in stoppage time and everything, and then we got to the PKs. But
Yeah. But let's just go back.
yeah,
The game itself, Jim even said they came out flat for the first 30
they
minutes.
did. They didn't look like they did against
No, they
Cincinnati.
did. They didn't look like they did against Cincinnati. I'd even argue they didn't look like that. They looked like better than they did against Cruz Azul.
Hmm.
I don't know. The Union, they were having problems. Credit this team was, I think I said the title. I was like, well, possession for a team that doesn't like the ball either. It
Yeah.
was 50-50. Matsalon had some
Hmm.
very good opportunities on the counter. Blake had a big save early on,
He did.
but I mean, the all night just they weren't as crisp as they had been in the
Yeah.
previous game. Now
Yeah.
obviously, when you play different teams, different styles,
Right.
and also I think Todd brought this up on his podcast. There was like something like 20, like how many? It was some ridiculous amount of numbers of stops and starts. So you
Yeah.
could the game, and that was the other thing I did notice. It
The
was all
Mazatlan diving team.
yeah, the diving team, which we'll get into here in a
Yeah.
second. It just was a hard night for the Union to find any rhythm,
Right.
which kind of frustrates you a little bit, especially when you're up 1-0 at half, and you're like you need to score that second goal because it's kind of game where you're going to let the team hang around. Bad things can happen. Just they can never get into a rhythm all night. Now, credit Jim said is a perfect example of what the Union do. They grind out, survive in
They
advance.
ground that game
Yeah,
out.
yeah, and like he also said, took them a while to get started. But once they got started in the second half, they were a lot better. But again, they still weren't 100% sharp on the night.
Yeah. So the thing about Mazatlan, and Jim had talked about this in his presser, they're going to try to bait you into getting, to conceding
Yeah,
fouls and everything. And they knew this going in. Now, I noticed when there was a corner at the river end side of things, I saw there's a corner and Ty, Baribo, and another player were getting a little chippy. There was a lot of pushing around, and these things, and that happens all the time.
right.
Pushing around and stuff. But I could tell, like, they're trying to bait him and trying to bait some of the other players, and I'm like, okay, it's getting a little pushy there, like a little more than normal. And think about this, against DC, against Cruz Azul, Mazatlan had a man advantage in both of those games. The
Right.
opposing team, DC and Cruz Azul, each had a player, red carded.
Mhm.
Okay. And this was a third game in a row where it happened. Now it's a little sus, as I said.
I mean,
Now it
it's interesting. I will say
yeah.
that because you're right. They were baiting all night, just kind of baiting players in when like literally somebody would touch them, they go flopping. And
Oh my gosh, the
there was
flopping.
a couple times I would even say they should have gotten a card for,
Simulate.
simulation.
Yeah,
So, I mean, let's talk about those two
right.
plays on the corner. First one comes in from my vantage point. We see I see it like the ref blow the whistle before the kick was taken, and then give Ty a card, and we're all like, "What?"
What?
And
Yeah,
then, and then like everybody's kind of looking, and they're like,
yeah,
"It's a foul, but that's no way near a card."
yeah.
And by that point, and then it happens again.
Like
They go to
really soon
VA, like,
after.
and it wasn't even like yellow to red. It
He
was
gave him a
like,
straight red for violent conduct, like right away.
and then they checked it. And of course, Jim said, like, it's going to be hard to overturn because anytime you go to the monitor, you're not only going to downgrade it. Now,
Here's the problem. Ty's already on a yellow. You downgrade it to a yellow from a red, it's still a second yellow and he's still going to be sent off.
so there's really no
So
point
it
in
was a
it.
really crappy situation. And here's the thing. So I'm at the opposite end. So it's hard for us to see except for what was on the screen. It's hard to see the
Mhm.
angle of all of it. So of course I'm checking social media and everyone's saying like that is the first one was not even a foul. Definitely not a yellow, probably not even a foul. And then on rewatch, eventually I saw I watched rewatched the game later. I saw, even like Danny Higginbotham was saying on the broadcast on Apple TV that if any, even the player from Mazatlan, he could have been given a yellow for simulation. I mean, it was a flop and a half, okay? I mean, he knew what he was doing there. And he was really baiting Ty, and the same player baited Ty again. Now, I mean, Ty could he have been a little more disciplined on that?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, especially when he's getting baited there and she's on a yellow. But honestly, like the second one, yeah, I can see that being called a yellow, but it's one of those unfortunate things too, because just the arm happened to go up and the other guy put himself in that position, honestly. So
So anybody at the far end, north end, I think it's called. If you were there and you saw like kind of, you had a real good view from that side of the
mhm,
goal. If you saw it, love to hear what your thoughts were on it from the press box and river end.
mhm.
We saw what we saw, but love to hear some people's opinions there if you were out that end.
Yeah, and here's another thing. Did you see in the stats how many fouls there were committed by Mazatlan versus the
Yeah,
Union, but then the ratio of cards, you know?
it was ridiculous.
Yeah, so it was it was pretty dirty on their part, to be honest. Yeah, the Union need to be more disciplined, and they knew going into this that
Yeah, but
Mazatlan.
also this is the same ref that during the crazy
Uh-huh.
Saprissa game, all that shenanigans. So
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean, the reffing, yeah, he was a
he
little
lost
card happy.
control.
Yeah, he lost control of it very early. And of course, the crowd was pissed. And, you can hear easily on the broadcast too, the ref you suck
Mhm.
chants and all that. I mean, so everyone was furious. And of course, that means that the Union lose Ty for the match against Columbus coming up, which he's been the hottest striker. So the other guys are gonna have to step up. And like you
Yep.
said, Jim said appealing it would do no good because unless it's a case of mistaken identity or something like that, it's not going to happen, which it's a shame
It is.
because that first one should not have been a yellow. So,
Yeah,
I mean, but unfortunately, here's where we are. The other guys are going to have to step up. Um, but to the Union's credit,
they did step up.
yeah, Mikel Ua. Let's talk about
So
Mikel.
let's talk about Mikel. So as soon as he gets sent off, Mikel has a great ball from Quinn, runs on, and I got to chat with Mikel at
Yeah.
the end, and I asked him. I said, 2 goals now, 2 games. What's been the difference? And he even mentioned that goal. Kind of runs in, chips the keeper,
Yeah. And
which is amazing. He chips it,
yeah,
and then it ricochets into the net.
like perfect placement. And it was a great ball from Jack McGlynn to Mikel.
Yeah, it was. And, so the ball was good coming in. He chips it. So that was one thing. And then our friend Todd Lewis asked, a great question, about now it's 2 games, and it seems that every time, Jim comes and says, hey, me and Mikkel had a chance, a chat,
Hmm.
that good things happen. So
And I have to say, I appreciate like Mikel is not such like a prima donna. He does take to heart these conversations, and he gets the feedback, and I
Mhm.
think that's very good. He's like very mature about it, you know.
Yeah. So
Times that we've had real discussions, and it's probably been, 5 or 6 times where he'll come into the office, we'll talk. It's honest, it's real. That next game is always like tonight. It's the level that we see Mikel at. He knows he can go there. He goes there the majority of the time, but sometimes I think, like all of us, we need whatever you want to call it, a kick in the butt, a reminder, encouragement, belief. And he went out on the field tonight, and I thought did a great job.
It's a good question. If I had all the answers, then it would be way easier. But yeah, again, I like to go to gym sometimes because you see the game different from the outside than you do on the inside, and it's always good to get his input on it. He gave me some really good key points that I should focus on, and yeah, it's been working out pretty great so far. So hopefully I can keep it going on Wednesday.
So yeah, so just really good feedback there. And again, you mentioned the humility of Mikel to
Yes.
understand it, and sure, you want your strikers to have a little diva in them. I get that, but the one thing I've always appreciated with Mikel is he's honest. He's open about a lot of things when he admits when he's not playing well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought it was great.
Uh,
And again, he has that, but then I also asked him like that second goal.
well,
Where
what
he-
it should have been a second goal.
Yeah, and the second goal, and he admitted that,
He needed to score there.
yeah, he kind of admitted that. So one great goal, one probably you need to put that in back in net because you didn't go up 2-0, even regardless of what we say about 2-0 leads.
Still give you a little bit of a buffer there.
And the way the team was hunkered down in that last 15 minutes, you bring in Lowe, I thought was very good on the night. You bring in those defensive players. And really, I'll talk about this before we get into it. But again, I'll wrap up Mikel here. It's just good to see now 2 games because you're going to need him now these next 2 games, definitely.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see what him and Dideron, if they do pair up together. I don't know if Jim will do that, but we'll see.
We haven't seen them paired up yet, really. So
Hey, I mean, you got to play Samuel because again,
Yeah.
he's out of contract this year. I agree with Todd was talking about it. I think him and Jose were, I forget.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah. So
they need to be playing those 2 together because even though maybe they don't pair up as well as maybe him and Ty and Sam, you still got to see what that matchup looks like. I know it's a semifinal, but at the end of the day, are you really going to have Mikel and Dono in there? No.
yeah, and you don't want to have to move Quinn up there either. Quinn is so much better.
Well, that's my
like,
question. I'll
in
get to
midfield.
that right now.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? You don't have Ty. So the sub of Mikel or Samuel, neither of them are going to go both 90. So then what's the sub? Are you moving Quinn up? You moving Danny up? I mean,
I guess it's going to depend on the situation too. There was a period of time in the game where there were no strikers.
oh yeah, there was. Yeah.
But that was, they're just trying to kind of, keep the tie at that point. But that
Well,
was interesting too, because I turned to like Lynette and I'm like, yeah, we have no strikers on the field right now. But
was
when
that
there
before Samuel got
that was
subbed in?
before Sam
Yeah,
got subbed in. But yes, and by the way, yeah, Jim did a triple sub for the second time,
yeah.
which I know he said he doesn't like to do, but
He did.
he did. And so yeah, they got some, of course they had to reconfigure some things because of being down a man. I mean, to their credit, they held it together for the most part. Yes, they conceded the tying goal. It was a bit of a I thought it was kind of a flop, but a foul that led to a dangerous kick right outside the box, and sure enough, Mazatlan puts it in the goal. And so if it weren't for Andre Blake, though,
Yeah, let's talk about that. I mean, he had
Andre Blake, we're not worthy. Andre Blake made perhaps one of the best saves all season. I think like he had incredible save at Cincy. I think, well, even on, the commentators like Steve Cangelosi, Danny Hingbaum, they're saying I think this was even better than Cincy. I mean, that was
it could
incredible.
very well be save of the tournament.
That was incredible. Andre Blake is just incredible. I mean, very simple.
I
And
mean,
he makes this team So much better,
He
more
covers-
confident.
He covers a
yeah.
lot of messes.
He really does.
He covers a lot of errors, and you can say what you want, but he makes they play more confident than they do with Rick and with Oliver. Now,
Yeah,
to
and-
their credit, both those goalies are very young.
Yeah, it's not that that they stink or anything. It's that Andre's just that good.
Right.
So it's just a huge, huge difference. I think it was
confidence is there.
yeah, it's like Kevin Kincaid said, if it was if he had like a war score, like it'd be like Aaron Judge. That's what he
Yeah.
said, you know?
Yeah, so I think at the end of the day, we've said during that losing streak, Blake probably is good for 2, 3 of those games that they lost by one.
Yeah.
Maybe you get a point, maybe you win them one. Who knows? But
Yeah,
that's
and-
in the past.
yeah.
But what I can say is, again, Andre was phenomenal tonight.
I could hear him like from the river end shouting out and directing everyone, and it just makes such a huge difference.
And then so we had the PKs.
Yep.
And again, Andre comes up big on the first save, and then we see Jose come in, and the place just goes nuts when he lines up.
Yep, and he bangs it home.
Bangs it home, and it was just a nice moment.
Oh, it was beautiful.
Everybody's like up in press box taking pictures and all this, and meanwhile,
someone was cutting onions during that time.
No, and meanwhile, I'm just sitting there in my chair, not tweeting, not anything. I'm just sitting there watching. You know that picture you saw where all the people have their cameras, and there's that old lady just standing there watching?
I didn't see
Yeah,
that.
it's like an old picture from like one of the inaugurations.
Oh, okay, one of those things, yeah.
And everybody's like has their phones up, and this lady's just standing there. I'm kind of just standing there. I mean, sitting there in my chair, just watching this all go. And it was just really kind of cool. Wasn't I don't think in fact, I didn't tweet it all or take any video. I was just watching it because it was such a cool moment. I just wanted to soak it in. And then also just watching PK, the emotions, I was just sitting there just taking it in. And I'll be honest with you, that save, and he buries it. And then that third PK, he saves it. And then, you're sitting there going, okay, Union maybe get out. Sam gets unlucky, hits the post. And now you're like, oh, well, this is going to be interesting. But then you got Jesus coming in. And it was actually kind of cool because Skylar sits next to me and he goes, man, remember he buried this one last year. I'm like,
yeah,
he
was the PK hero last year.
Shout out to Skylar here. We're going to show that video again here because I asked him if I could share this on the pod here. He took the video of the winning PK, so we're going to tune in.
Yeah, I didn't take video. That was a beautiful moment. And I'll tell you what, so I did take video. Of course, my stuff didn't upload. I took video of Jose's, but the rest of them I'm just watching. In fact, the whole time I'm like, they're like, I'm like, I'm just like, please, please, please. And I'm just like, come on. And Lynette and Patrick were all like, and Lynette and I were going crazy, and Jane, Eric, all of us around there. And honestly, I'm really glad I got to be in the river end and that I wasn't in the press box, so I could just cheer like crazy and just be a part of that pandemonium, because I don't think I could have been reserved and be in press mode. We were jumping around and screaming, and it was the best time. It was also super, super nerve-wracking though, in between, but just crazy. And I'll tell you what, Andre makes the save on the third attempt by Muslim. Oh my goodness. Just incredible. And I had heard, Andre probably wasn't giving away anything when it was the Cruz Azul PKs because it didn't really matter. He kind of went the same way each time. And so, maybe that was more tactical. It's not going to give away too much because it doesn't matter. I mean, we'll try to save him, but nothing crazy. But man, that's the best we've seen from him in PK since I would say the Nashville playoff game when he saved Hani Mukhtar. That still lives in my brain. That game was incredible because I mean it's not, we've been through PKs with Andre quite a bit, but that
the
was
thing with Andre is Andre a lot of times we'll read it right.
Yeah.
It's just he doesn't always make the save. If you get it high, he doesn't always get.
mean-
But he's also made some
Oh,
phenomenal.
phenomenal. And let's face it, saving PKs, I mean, that's hard.
It is.
I mean, really, but what a moment. Jesus Bueno, just incredible. I debated, I mean, of course I was going to wear the Jose shirt here, but I also have the Jesus Bueno MLS bootleg one. And I was like, that one's a great one too. I mean, that was incredible. Great moment for Choo Choo because last year Leagues Cup, and yes, I love this artwork here, by the way. But you know, Leagues Cup was a big moment for him and really got him in the spotlight, really was his time to shine. And he hasn't really had the opportunities much this year. And it's just because of depth.
Yeah.
And it's just the way it has been. But I think with Brujo moving on, he's gonna maybe need to play more of a role and step up. And I'll tell you what was really cool to me.
Mhm.
Well, there was a few moments. First of all, after Jose Martinez made his PK and he went over to Andre and they embraced, and that picture's
That
been
is
all over.
nice.
It's the main photo on my article and several other people's. That picture is just an incredible photo. There's some great photos from that game, to be honest. So many when I was doing the article, like so many good ones to choose from. But props to the photographers because they got some great moments.
It really did.
And also, another thing, um, was, I'm losing my train of thought now. But yeah, like when Jose, yeah, he hugged Andre, that was great. And then after, you know, everyone was celebrating, and then they did the usual banging of the drum at the
Yeah,
end of the match.
him and
And
Choo Choo got the bang jump.
yeah, the
together.
two Venezuelans, they took turns, Choo Choo and Jose, banging the drum. I thought that was great. And then there was an interview with Jose Martinez,
Mhm.
and you know, he spoke in Spanish, and it was translated by whoever they had there, but not really in depth. Didn't really convey what he was really saying as well as it could have been. So if you haven't seen it, I strongly suggest you look at Jose Nunez's um, tweet about it. He translated it very well, and I know I shared that in my article as well. But check that out because it just was beautiful what Jose said. I mean, Brujo, he is just like emotional. He's tearing up. I mean, watching that is like getting me choked up thinking about it. And honestly, we we know how special Brujo has been to this team. There's a reason you see Jose Martinez jerseys all over the stadium.
Oh, absolutely.
It's how you would see Chase Utley jerseys all around, you know, the Phillies, and how you still do. And I think we'll still see Martinez jerseys all the time. In fact, what I don't have any Union jerseys that have player names on them really. And I had thought about getting this year's kit, and I was strongly thinking about getting Martinez, but I ended up not getting any name on it.
Yeah.
I'd still put it on there though. I mean, but I'd just like to keep it blank for the most part. But man, like he's meant so much. It's that grit, it's that, you know, very kind of blue collar mentality. And like I said in my article, I think if more people in Philly paid attention to the union
Mhm.
and MLS and weren't snobs on, oh, it's soccer, you know, whatever. Honestly, I think people, like I said in my article, would adore Jose Martinez. He is very Philly in there. And it's neat how this guy from Venezuela has, you know, came to embrace Philly so much. And it was mutual that the fan base really loved him too. And I think that, you know, it all started back when he came on the field against LAFC back in 2020. He had the bloody nose, and we're gonna get into some memories.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like, just yeah,
I mean, I think sorry to cut you off there, but I think you just hit the nail on the head. I mean, that's what I was going to share. I think Jose really embodied the city, and that's why the fans really loved him.
yeah,
And that was really key. So, like you just mentioned there, I want to get into it here because I asked Jim
yeah,
kind of what we were just talking about, the importance, the impact. You know, Jose didn't have to play, but he comes in makes his like a farewell appearance. You know, comment below. You know, you would love to see that with Julian. We didn't get to see that for whatever
yeah. And plus,
reason.
he was kind of injured before he left. Like he
Yeah,
really
it
didn't get in.
wasn't the perfect like it just is what it is. But, I asked him, talk about the impact, he makes, but also just the character of the player.
And I love that you brought up like comparing it to Stu.
I kind of wish I didn't, because it wasn't really relevant, different situation.
Yeah.
I think you guys know how much I love Jose, what he's meant to the club, the games that we've won here because of him. He's really embraced the city. I think he represents the club very well. You can see how emotional he is after his final game here. So again, Jose is a winner first and foremost. He is one of one, is the best way I can put it. There won't be another Jose Martinez here at the Union. He is not replaceable. He's a guy that, again, I owe a ton of my success at the club, whatever small amount of success I've had. I owe a lot to Jose and what he's brought. He is a guy that, wears his heart on his sleeve. I think, again, the fans see how hard he works every day, what he puts into the game. And he gave the Philadelphia Union a lot of amazing victories. We also had some difficult defeats, but I think we've become a stronger club because of Jose Martinez and all that he's brought. He'll now, again, at this point, it's no secret, paperwork-wise, and signing this or signing that. I think I can talk openly now. He'll go to one of the biggest clubs in South America, which is an honor for him, I'm sure. But again, he will be missed. Like I said, one of one, not replaceable, an incredible person, incredible human being, a guy that I bonded with while we're maybe very not the same. We're not the same on or off the field, but I think we do both have the same desire to win and have success. And the cool thing I always say about this sport is what it allows. You can come from a million different places in the world, a million different countries. But the greatest thing about this game is when you cross the white lines, you can be whoever you want, and you can be a different person. So I think I'm quiet and cerebral, but I wasn't a nice player. Jose is both. He's the happiest guy in the world one moment, and he can turn in a second when he crosses the white lines and wants to win a game. So I love that about him. It means he cares. You can tell by the emotion that he has now in his interviews, in the locker room, behind closed doors. This club means a lot to him. Sorry I'm talking a lot about him, but he means a lot to me too. So for a kid to come to the Union, kind of unknown, a hard worker, had a lot of athletic qualities that we liked a lot. Again, I've told this story before, but he has the game against LAFC where we kind of throw him out there because of a shortness of players, and he rose to the occasion, right? Comes off the field bloody in the 3-3 LAFC game, and that's where Jose Martinez, the legend, started. Then COVID happened, and he went home and came back from COVID, which was about a 3-month break, and I said he came back so fit. I've never seen a human being come back so fit, and I asked him, what did you do? And his English is limited, and he just said, I run on the beach by myself. And it was unbelievable. I mean, he came back at a level that year where he just treated the COVID break differently than most other players, and that propelled us to our first trophy. And he's a big part of that. And then, the rest is the rest. I'll live through all the yellow cards, red cards, all that stuff. I love it because he cares and he wants to win. So great player, great person, and he'll be missed. I'm sure I gave the guys off tomorrow, so I'm sure they'll be having fun with Jose tonight too. So that's okay by me. They deserve it. And one last hurrah, one last dance, and I have love for Jose.
So yeah, there's Jim sharing thoughts. That story about he goes runs on the beach and run.
Yeah.
As a coach, you love to hear that. You love to see players taking that. But just and I tweeted this out yesterday. As a coach, you have certain players you connect with. This is a prime example of a coach connecting with the player and then having that relationship where there's admiration on both ends. Both players respect and the coach respecting one another. And so for Jim to be emotional last night, I get it. It's like when I've lost some of my very best athletes, they graduated, it's hard. It's not easy. I think anybody that's coached, if you're out there and you're a coach, you understand that sure, you're not going to connect with every player you coach, but when you do, it's a very special thing. And So while Jim's sharing now, I'm sitting there in the front row getting a little teary eyed because I'm like, Jim, I know. I'm like shaking my head up and down a million times 'cause I'm like, I totally understand what he's talking about there, and I appreciate that answer so much more. So then I went back in when I was interviewing Kel, and I asked him because I was curious, like, what does the team think? What, as a player, as a teammate, what was his thoughts? So here is Mikkel's thought on him as well, and I just love how that picture.
Oh, he's always been. I don't know if you could say highs and lows with him, but he's a great guy. He likes to start some banter in the locker room, which I like. So he's always been a guy to be good at putting smile on people's faces and doing different kinds of gimmicks and stuff. So yeah, he's been a wonderful teammate. And again, if this is the last time I'm going to be sharing a pitch with him for now, it's been a pleasure.
So that was just wonderful that, again, Mikkel shares that, he's always, highs and lows, but he's always brought a smile to the players' faces. And, it was a pleasure sharing the pitch with him.
Yeah, and I know like Jose did really seem like he connected with his teammates so well. Of course, he has that Venezuela connection with Jesus Bueno. He totally had a good friendship with Olivier and Bizo. It's a shame that Bizo couldn't be on the field with him. Obviously,
Yeah.
I'm sure he was there at the stadium watching, but he's been so important to his teammates. And even though there's kind of a language barrier and everything, still like they have all that respect, and he's just been so fun, honestly. I'm gonna miss him on their social media things too. He's always funny on there. But yeah, definitely I appreciated Jim's words about Jose, and you could see the emotions. And I'll tell you what, Sunday morning, a lot of times after a game, like when it's a win, especially, a lot of times I'll go and rewatch parts of the game, if not all of it. I watched it, especially like I'm watching Jose come in the 90th-ish minute, and then seeing him do the PK and all that. And I gotta tell you, I definitely was getting like the waterworks a little bit going. I mean, my goodness. Because yeah, I was there, but then watching again and seeing like all that play out again, I'll tell you what, yeah, he just has meant so much to the team and this fan base. And we're gonna talk about top memories here.
Yeah, let's get into this. So we polled everybody out there, and if you're listening and you didn't comment, feel free to share your top 3 favorite Jose Martinez moments as a member of the union. I could go. We got so many comments, so many feedback. I could go spend another 30 minutes on them. So I appreciate everybody, but I'll just share some right now. Probably the biggest one we've heard was the Orlando goal. Everybody.
Yeah, that was such a long time coming. Because he hadn't had a goal in MLS yet, and he would try to score goals. Sometimes he'd be outside the box, and then it'd go like into the river, pretty much.
But that year he kept getting closer and closer and closer, and then finally he nailed one.
Yeah, and it was like in like the 89th or 90th minute, something like
90
that.
plus.
Yeah, against Orlando, and it got them the draw.
The 2-2 draw.
Yeah, and my God, and how that wasn't goal of the year. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fair.
Lucho's goal that got goal of the year, it was good, but I'm sorry. Like, yes, I'm biased, but Jose's goal was just a rocket, and it was one of the best goals I've ever seen. It was, and the fact that it had so much meaning, because like he hadn't scored, he'd been getting closer and closer, but he would like miss so many times, and he finally gets a goal in that fashion, tying it up on the road and all that. That was incredible. And he had 2 other very good goals that season too. He had 2 at
did.
home.
Well, and that's another one. Some people even mentioned the NYCFC goal where he runs 80 yards down the pitch, gets a ball in the net, and then basically volleys it in the back of the net past the keeper. You even won that one.
There was one against Cincy.
There was that one.
I remember there was one. I think the one against Cincy was at the opposite end from the river end, because I was like, all right, he finally got a home goal. And then he scored, I think the one NYCFC was the one that was at the river end.
No, that was at the far end.
Okay.
The Cincy game was the one they blew the 2-0 lead against.
Okay.
But he had that goal, and
Because we're like, yes, we finally got to see one right here at the river, because we were all like, come
Yeah.
on, he's got to do it. So, but yeah, that was just amazing. I wish he could have had a goal this year, but yeah.
Then we had the bloody nose against LAFC, which kind of cemented him. I mean, that's like Jim said, that's the iconic photo. That's where most fans fell in love with him.
Mm-hmm.
My personal favorite, the middle finger against NYCFC, and I think that was 2022. For various reasons, there was also a picture of me sometimes after that
Lock
game
screen currently.
doing the same thing, flicking off the fans. There was
There's some great shots. There's one with his back,
Yeah.
and it sees him kind of like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it, but he's kind of like that.
Yeah.
And then, there's one where he's facing the camera, but that was, that was great. I know he was fined for that, and maybe it's not the best example for the kids, but it was iconic.
And then you
Loved
had the toss up with Higuain his first year.
Yeah.
He got in Higuain's face on that one play.
That was amazing.
So yeah, there was that. I know somebody had commented. Well, Jose had talked about, one of his favorite moments was when he got to interview him.
Yeah.
And then also
and I was right by there too, by the way.
And-
And yeah, he was great.
And then also, Jose, thank you for sharing this. And it's on his website. He can feel free to, if you want to share that. That video about him during the off season, the community ventures he does in Venezuela, helping out.
He was
people.
giving out Christmas gifts to kids.
I mean, so there again, somebody that's helping out people in his home country, in the community, that just goes to share his character, So
I know Jim had said in the town hall, I believe it was when he said it, that he came from
nothing.
He came from very humble background, from real bad area of town and in Maracaibo. So
he's helping, going back there. So I'll tell you my top 3. Oh, and then Todd brought up about Jose going in during the
during Jim's presser,
Yeah.
after they won the Eastern Conference final.
Yeah,
in
throughout
2022.
that one. And I think somebody talked about the shades in
Oh yes, at the Meet the Team event in
Yes.
2023, and he was just he was like, putting on a show basically for everyone there, and there were so many great memories, honestly.
some funny camera shots, just good times.
Yeah.
My top 3 favorite moments are probably going to be as follows. The video of him obviously going and saying in that video, I'll fight anybody.
That one was great.
That is actually my number 3. My number 2 is the goal against Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
And then my number 1, it's so hard because the middle finger and the bloody nose are kind of both synonymous with like the legend of him and will be the legend moving forward. I'm gonna go with the middle finger because it was after NYCFC had beaten us the year prior in the Eastern Conference, and it was just the finger in the air. So I think those are some excellent memories that we've had of Jose Martinez. What are your favorite 3?
Oh gosh. I do think that for me, it's tough to decide, honestly. I think that, gosh,
so many good ones.
So many good ones. I have to say, I think the bloody nose incident was like number 3 for me. The middle fingers was number 2. And for me, the Orlando goal, okay, funny story about that for people that don't know. So that was of course an away match. We're here at home watching it. I'm watching it in our living room. Kyle, you like went downstairs or something. You like left the room. You were like downstairs and didn't see it.
Oh, I'll tell you what I was doing. I was getting ready to hop on the press conference.
Right. And and then
because I'm like, this game's over.
And I'm watching it. I'm right there in the living room and watching it. And then like I'm sitting on the end of the couch and and I'm like, I was screaming. I was screaming, Kyle. I was like, he did it. Oh my God, he did it. He scored.
I'm just like sitting
I
down
was
here,
like,
what's happening? And I like ran upstairs and then I saw.
Yeah, like I lost my mind. Okay. I totally lost my mind on it. And because number 1, the goal was phenomenal. And what it also meant, just for him to finally connect and finally get that goal. I know Dave Leno said that the Orlando goal was his favorite
Yes.
moment, and he's seen a lot of great moments.
Yes,
Um,
yes, yes. So
of course,
thanks, Dave.
yeah. So, just I've even shown that Orlando goal. I think after it happened or something, I showed it to my students in school, and I've even showed them to. I've shown it to that. I forget what brought it up, but I've definitely shown it at school, and the kids were like, "Oh my god!" And I showed it actually to before the game. I showed that goal to Lynette and Patrick just to give them a little reference. Explained to him all about what was happening with
Yeah.
Jose and what he meant to the team, but I was like, "You got to see this goal." But yeah, so that I think the Orlando goal is my favorite. But man, so many great memories with him, and I know he said he would love to retire in Philly.
Mhm.
I hope he makes his way back before
Yeah.
he's done playing, and I would love to see him retire with the Union, one way or another. And but I'm so glad that he got a proper send off. They got the win. He got to have the PK, just the whole thing, banging the drum. Like it was fantastic.
And I mean, honestly, again, as much as it stinks, he gets to get the opportunity to go to one of the biggest clubs in South America. Corinthians is an institution in South America. So
Yeah, I mean, this is a great opportunity for him.
great
And
opportunity
yeah,
for him, to kind of get more experience heading into 2026 World Cup. So for that aspect, you love this move as much as it hurts to see him leave. You love it, but
I hope I get to see him. I hope I get to see what if Venezuela, if he's playing with Venezuela in the World Cup, and they get to play in Philly. Can you imagine?
that'd be
We're
awesome.
gonna show up with
But
Trujo stuff.
real quick, Todd brought this up on his podcast, and I agree with him. Is he a Ring of Honor candidate?
Ooh, that's a great question.
That is a great question.
I mean, do his stats put him there?
No, but I think
But what he has meant to the city.
I think one-time All-Star.
Yeah.
But just some of the other things, defensive play.
Yeah.
You could eventually, fan
I don't
favorite.
think he's like a shoe-in right away for it, maybe, but I mean, there's like no brainers. Like Andre Blake, he's gonna be in the Ring of
All right, but
Alejandro Bedoya, most
but
likely,
just thinking about like his defensive play, I mean, he could be one of the better defenders. I'd love to hear
Yeah.
people out there. I'd love to hear from you. What are your thoughts? Is he somebody eventually maybe gets in there? Because I think what he meant to the city, kind of like Ali. Now Ali has a lot more years, a lot more stats. Maybe he could be one of those guys, fan favorite that eventually gets in. I don't know. I think if he comes back, retires, definitely maybe, but I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be opposed to it. I think he'd be a great addition. But so yeah, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts again. Just share them, drop them in the comments. Feel free to reach out to us about your favorite Jose Martinez moments.
Yeah, and I think honestly, one of the best things the Union I mean, besides for themselves, if they can go out and win Leagues Cup,
Oh, absolutely.
just that'd be phenomenal.
So, yep, here we go.
Speaking of which,
Columbus Crew Union on Wednesday, and then the following Wednesday, the match on Saturday was rescheduled.
two Wednesdays in a row. with
So I
Columbus.
think he said, him and Jim said in the press conference, him and Wilford to get real tired. So yeah, they're gonna see each other
and then
back to back.
and then when's the away match at Columbus?
Not until towards the end of the year. It's like the second, third to the last match of the season.
Yeah.
But they're gonna see a lot of each other in the next 3 months. So,
Yep.
hey,
Interesting.
Union have had success in Columbus. Last year they took a late PK by Cuccio. And they ended up drawing 2-2. But there again, probably the best transfer window they had this off season. They got some talent. It's gonna be a real tough challenge, and especially without Ty. But again, this could be the Union's best chance of winning a trophy this year.
Yep. And then, yeah, it could be quite interesting, as it's been pointed out. Either way, there's going to be a rematch of a recent MLS Cup.
Yeah, I mean, it's either going to be, yep, not sure.
It's either going to be Columbus LAFC or
unless like watch the Union win and then Colorado like spoil everything, and then it's Colorado Union for the
yeah, but then LAFC and Columbus would be playing a third. placement. You know, like it,
Yeah. No,
either
no.
way, it's gonna
Oh
happen.
no, absolutely. Either way, it will happen.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, if the Union win against Columbus, and they, of course, either way, they're hosting a game on Sunday, whether it's going to
Yeah.
be the final or it's going to be the third place game. And I guess the final will be the later time slot. Well, the next day is my first day of school. It's going to be a really late night, but that's okay. I will gladly go to my first day of school, being, totally, totally tired. That's what coffee's for.
Mhm.
If the Union can pull out a win. So that would be amazing. So,
I mean, it's gonna be a tough game, but hey,
mhm.
look, I think where we're at, 2 years in a row, they've made to semifinals.
Yeah.
You hope for a better showing than last year. I think you will get that. But again, let's see what they do. They've been good on the road this year.
Mhm.
But yeah, tall tests ahead of them, and even if they are to advance, still a tall test. And so, we saw some stats. People have been throwing out stats Union all the time, and Jim brought that up. He said, "How many of those finals were we actually favorites in, or those matches?"
Mhm.
And it's a good point. Uh, like I said yesterday, it's a great to see you making all these matches, but they need to win a trophy badly,
They do. They need to get
and
over that hump.
they do. They need to get over the hump. That's a fair point to anybody out there making that criticism. It is. It's a very fair point.
Mhm.
But at the same time, let's also look at the success they have had.
Yes.
Now, success is great. It gets kind of tired after 15 years and you still haven't won anything. But other than Supporters Shield and Eastern Conference paperweight, but and and the Suncoast Invitation or whatever it was called, that one too. So yeah, it'd be great to see you. At the bare minimum, let's get that CONCACAF Cup, Champions Cup berth.
Yeah.
At the very bare minimum. I mean, if you can't win on Wednesday, you gotta win on Sunday and get that
Mhm.
berth. Otherwise, what's the point? You finish fourth, you don't really get anything out of it. So, um, yeah, looking forward to it. It'll be an exciting night. I know Todd and Jose are probably going to go live, or at least but one of they're going to probably go live with the post match. So again, make sure you tune into that. And any thoughts on? Oh, excuse me. Any thoughts on Union 2?
Yeah. So a little bit on Union 2. So they traveled to Toronto. They played Toronto FC 2. And well, they were definitely missing some of their best players.
Yeah.
Of course, they didn't have Vasquez or Westfield, or they didn't have Cavan. They didn't have a bunch of their players there. They didn't have CJ. Only they didn't have like a whole bunch of them. So that, of course, and Kyle Tucker is still out, of course, because
Yeah.
his dad passed. So they're missing quite a few pieces. Neil Pierre actually was the captain for the game.
Yes.
And so props to Neil. But they were okay, so, but they conceded actually, like, the goals weren't great that they conceded, honestly, but they go down 2-0, and then uh, but they battled back, and Kellen LeBlanc had a brace, in fact,
Yeah.
and the one was where, like, the keeper was pulled out of the goal, and he got the ball in there, and that was great. That was Kellen's first, start for Union 2.
Yeah, him and Jameer Johnson.
And Jameer Johnson, yeah. Some of the other guys got to step up. So they did, yeah, they got 2 goals there from Kellen. He was actually named MLS Next Pro Rising Star of the Match Day. So
Yeah.
so great honors for him. And so that was on the second half. As I was saying, I'm like, I'd love to know what Marlon said during halftime. And I'll tell you what, honestly, I was a coach's kid, okay? My dad was my swim coach. I know what it's like to be coach's kid, okay? Um, I wouldn't be surprised if, Kellen hears it even more. But anyway, though, I'm really happy for him and good for him getting that. And then of course the reinforcements came in. Unfortunately, they did concede 2 more goals. One was on a PK. It was a dumb PK that was given, but I believe that was on Macania. I mean, he'd been solid, and despite that, but Berdesio had a decent game actually. But Eddie Davis was back. He was on
Yeah.
he was on the bench. He came in though eventually, but unfortunately they couldn't get the win there. But yeah, overall, I mean, there were some good performances, but yeah, that was a tough one. And especially because they had beaten Toronto on the road.
Yeah.
Back when it was the weekend that the Union played Montreal
Yep.
away. So that was a big, I think they won like 4-0 or something.
5-0.
Was it 5?
I
I know
it
like
was a
Eddie
blowout.
Ford, it was like, I think Eddie might have had like a brace or something. I don't know. They scored a lot of goals in that one, but
Yeah.
anyway, but good for Kellen, and seeing these guys, up and coming. And so they got some games coming up. So they have weirdly a Monday game, of course. So it's probably a good thing because then they're not affected by the Leagues Cup match. But yeah, I believe their next game is Monday, August 26th.
Yep.
So which is weird one. But yeah, that's against Columbus Crew 2
It'll
at
be a
6
good-
p.m.
Big good game.
Won't be able to make that one, unfortunately, being a Monday. It's a little hard for us, but we'll be watching as best we can. But anyway, so we'll see what they can do and moving forward. And then they have some home ones coming up.
Yeah, they do.
So yeah, so we'll see what they do. And again, lots of trips to Subaru Park coming up.
We do. So we'll be back here on Sunday, and then following Wednesday, one of us at least will be there probably. Hopefully
Yeah,
both,
for
but
the rescheduled Columbus regular season
maybe
game.
both, but at least one of us will be there. And then we'll be probably heading to Red Bull. So
Yeah, so they'll be at Red Bull on Saturday, August 31st. You got Labor Day weekend, and then I think it's the following weekend. There's I forget when it was. There was one that the Union and Union 2 were both home, and I forget when that was.
I think
It's
that's
not for
a little late.
I think that's a little later. Yeah.
So anyway, that's all for today's episode of the One Team We Agree On.
Yeah, make sure you like it, like and you subscribe and give us comments because we love hearing from you. We appreciate the feedback and we appreciate everyone that's been tuning in and
Yeah.
checking out our stuff and helping this continue to grow, and all the people that we've gotten to meet in person at these events, at the games and everything. So
Yeah, we always say, please come introduce yourself. We're just people like you. We want to talk to everybody. So please come say hello. If you're out there listening and you see us walking about, don't feel shy. Even if we're walking towards the stadium, please come say hi.
Yeah, come see us. We got stickers. If you want any of our stickers, we'll give you stickers.
We have a couple stickers. We got to order more.
Yeah, we do.
Anyway, so until next time, I'm Kyle.
I'm Jillian.
And we'll see you at the game.